Hi, we are Jemine, Jenn, and Ted, and are excited to discuss our experiences as they relate to PharmaSim and our in-depth learning of marketing in general. Our team is tasked with managing all aspects of marketing from the all-round family of brands, including new product development, product reformulation, distribution, budgeting, and social media. As noted in our original marketing plan, our team used stock price as the sole determinant of success while managing our brand through an increasingly aggressive and volatile market as determined during our SWOT analysis. Our original marketing plan detailed our efforts to focus on reducing the drowsiness symptoms from the all-round formulation and to introduce a child's cold medicine. We started strong with a stock price that grew by period 4 to $49.60, but quickly plummeted, hit a low at period 8 at $5.97, then made a slight rebound to end period 10 at $7.52. We learned a lot as we went through this as a team. Ted, based on this information, can you elaborate on our performance objectives versus our actual positive metrics of performance?
Yep. Thanks, Jemine. Yes, at the beginning of the simulation, we were really focused on stock price. But we learned early on that there are other factors of success. From periods 1 through 4, we increased our stock value by 37% to 49.60 cents. This feeling of stability pushed us to take risks, thinking performance would stay status quo. Stock price aside, we had several key points of success. Our total manufacturer sales grew by 35% to 2.7 from 1.7 billion. Even though we reformulated our brand 2 times, removing alcohol and then later adding it back in, we ultimately improved our consumer satisfaction from 49.8 to 54%. Our brand presence in the market was improved through an increase of average shelf space from 1.3 to 1.4 feet. Jemine will now walk us through the areas where we didn't have that same type of success.
Thank you, Ted. Now, where I think we took a naive turn was in trying to change too many different factors, and we did not have the foresight to determine which of Porter's 3 strategies we could pursue. As a result, we started with a focused strategy and quickly switched to an overall cost leadership and then back again. Aside from our aforementioned stock price decline, our biggest area of decline included a large decline in net income from $68.5 million to negative $2.2 million, attributed to a lack of adjustments with changes in our total budget. Total market share of units declined from 21 to 11.9% due to us changing strategy nearly every period. A 1% change in cost of goods sold helped minimize our gross margin decline by 26% from the last period. During periods in which we analyzed that the data and the reports available to us for purchase, we honed in on it made the most sense to spend and how to get us back on track. Jenn, can you speak to some specifics on this?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Jemine, and thanks, Ted. So following that line of thinking, what we found to be most impactful was how much money we spent first on advertising, then sales force and promotions. We dropped our advertising budget at first because we thought we could save money and allot it elsewhere, but our stock price and income then fell. As both our stock price and net income plummeted, we had less to spend on advertising, which then created something of a domino effect. When we determined that we had to make advertising our priority, we started to see a positive trend, although it was a little bit late in the game for us. When we were spending between 18 and 20 million on advertising, our stock price was at its highest. We got a little bit cheap though, and thought we were well enough established to back down on advertising, and there were again negative ripples. We varied in our MSRP between $5.29 and $6.69, taking it to that highest price in period 10 when we did rebound a bit. We found that sales were not greatly impacted by pricing, and in fact, at a higher price, consumers were still willing to spend. So Jemine, if you want to take it from there.
Yeah, so, let's move on to some of the most key successful factors in all round. In periods 1 through 4, when we really focused on advertising, as mentioned in depth before, we did really well. Thoughtful use of Salesforce was also key. And when we allotted Salesforce wisely, we did well in all 4 periods. We varied in our consumer and trade promotions. At first, we all thought a larger coupon, let's say worth $1, would be beneficial to motivating consumers to buy our product. What we quickly learned was that too much expenditures on freebies was cheapening our product, making the consumer weary of ever paying full price, which hurt our bottom line. We were better off with more coupons valued at less money. Also, our most important focus from the perspective of where to sell was grocery, drugstore, then mass merchandisers. Shelf placement in all of these venues is highly impactful on sales, which is smart allotment on Salesforce, which is also key. One thing that did benefit us was the addition of All Round Plus children's medicine. Well, that actually did not benefit us. We tried it. It did not work, but we tried it. But Ted, can you talk about that experience specifically and how our objectives and performance did not align with our instance of what our greater business model was?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jemine. So as was mentioned, that line extension did not prove to be fiscally responsible. Aligning with our original marketing plan, we introduced All Round Plus, children's 4-hour cold product in the middle of the simulation, and quickly dropped it after period 5 as we realized it was negatively impacting our bottom line. Our team additionally decided to try a 12-hour multi-symptom capsule in period 6 and found similar results as All Round Plus, and subsequently dropped that product line the following period. After removing alcohol from our ingredients within the first period, we found that we benefited from adding it back in period 7, as it was one of our original competitive advantages. From our reporting and consumer feedback throughout the simulation, we found that being able to sleep for consumers is extremely important, and by adding the alcohol back in, our total manufacturer sales actually increased each period as a result within our focused market segment.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, that was so interesting, the whole debate about adding or taking away alcohol. But on that note, I'm going to talk about the value to the consumer as it relates to how we left the company positioned for the future, and ultimately what our key takeaways are from this experience. So while we did end with a negative income, negative $2.2 million, and our stock price did decrease, we were forced to choose from period 6 to 10 to allot a little bit of less money to advertising, because we didn't have the money to spend. But we feel that we cannot simply assess our productivity from a stock price perspective. We believe you often learn a lot more from challenges than from just straight success. And when given the opportunity to continue running all around, we will certainly fare much better. This was a great learning experience for all of us. If we look here to the value pyramid from the Elements of Value article in the Harvard Business Review, it really speaks to where we try to focus on consumer needs. We find this pyramid and this article to translate well across all of our businesses, not just in PharmaSim. But in the case of PharmaSim and products, the functionality piece really resonates. There is a quality associated with All because it is a well-known brand and should save the consumer time by not having to think about what product to purchase. From this perspective, and from an emotional standpoint, if the consumer knows the product works, anxiety is reduced, and wellness is achieved. What do you think, Ted? Is there anything else that you can relate to all around from our readings this semester?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jen. I continue to be impressed by companies like Unilever, And I think that PharmaSim in this simulation and the all-round brand could certainly learn from this company. Unilever uses an insights engine which streamlines their operations and helps them integrate, collaborate, and experiment. If All-Round were to implement a similar system, the entire operation would likely soar while reducing costs of goods sold. As described in the article, Building an Insights Engine, the focus on people, creativity, and analytical thinking would benefit All-Round from a profitability standpoint. Lastly, I will point to the article, Know Your Consumers, Jobs to be Done, another Harvard Business Review article. Clearly, knowing your consumers is key to the success of any business. I was struck by the comment, a deep understanding of a job allows you to innovate without guessing what trade-offs your consumers are willing to make. While this article has a lot of focus on condo unit sales, the point of the article resonates with any business. One of the core principles discussed was the idea of seeing circumstances through the lenses of the consumer. In any business, and certainly in our PharmaSim simulation, we will continually make decisions on what we think the consumer wants. Do they want a product with alcohol? Do they want something with multiple symptom treatment? Or something that is more singularly focused? The key is truly understanding the consumer and the best products that can be made for him or her.
So Jemine, do you have any last thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know what? I think is awesome these days is for business leaders and innovators that they are the resources that we have available to us. Programs like PRISM and VALS, surveys and reports that can be analyzed and measured. What we need to keep in mind is the humanity in all of this and not to get caught up in numbers. Because as we know, marketing is a social science. And people, while habitual and often methodical, are also unpredictable. When we apply the science of marketing to the reality of human nature, and I think we can come up with a creative and exciting way to meet demands of the consumer of the 21st century, we don't know ultimately what is going to happen. And that was the beauty of the simulation.
I agree, Jemine. I think that really embodies kind of the whole simulation. And, in conclusion, as a team, we tried a few different objectives. We really wanted to stay relevant, prominent, and progressive. We attempted to do all three of these things simultaneously, but in reality, we probably should have focused our efforts more clearly earlier in the game. We learned a lot as we went, but not quite quickly enough. We do know that difficulty leads to progress. So when we're given the opportunity to take all around into the future, that's what we'll do. We'll be progressing every step of the way. Thanks, everybody.